Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a tale of two plants. And let me tell you, we're going to take an unexpected journey deep into the surprisingly rigorous world of Arizona's native plant protections.
Okay, let's dive into this with a question. Who wins in a fight, a man with a shotgun or a giant cactus? Now, I know it sounds like the setup to a really bizarre joke, right? But to understand why these strict laws exist in the first place and just how seriously Arizona takes its desert flora, we actually have to travel back to the Phoenix area in 1982. We're going to look at the strange, kind of dark true crime story of a guy named David Grundman.
So, Grundman, who had apparently enjoyed a few too many drinks, decided it would be a fun idea to knock over a giant saguaro cactus. First, he actually tried ramming the thing with his Jeep. That didn't work at all. It just wrecked his vehicle. Enraged that this plant literally wouldn't budge, Grundman grabbed a shotgun and fired both barrels right into the base of the cactus. Well, the blast weakened the trunk just enough. The massive, towering plant toppled straight over and instantly crushed him to death. It's a grim story for sure, but it perfectly hits the nail on the head regarding a fundamental reality of the Sonoran Desert. These plants, they are absolute giants possessing incredible mass and weight.
To put that mass into perspective, 78 feet, that's nearly 24 meters. That was the height of the tallest recorded single-stalk saguaro, which was documented growing near Cave Creek, Arizona, before some high winds finally brought it down in 1986. I mean, we're not just talking about regular houseplants here. These are monumental, multi-ton structures. And because they're so iconic, they take forever to grow, and they're frankly just massive, the state of Arizona maintains incredibly strict legal oversight over what you can and cannot do with them. Let's actually walk through the legal red tape here. Say you want to move a saguaro cactus that's over 4 feet tall from its original growing location. Even if it is literally sitting on your own private property, you cannot just go out there and grab a shovel. No way. You are required by the Arizona Department of Agriculture to follow 3 exact non-negotiable steps. Step 1, you purchase a specific permit. Step 2, you get a designated tag. And Step 3, you obtain a seal. You legally cannot transport that plant until the tag and seal are physically attached to the whole shebang.
Now, what's really fascinating is how far these protections actually extend. You might be sitting there thinking, well, the cactus in my yard looks completely dead, so I'll just chop it down. Actually, scratch that. Not so fast. Even dead or dying cactuses still require those removal permits unless they pose an immediate safety hazard. Why? Well, a saguaro suffering from severe bacterial necrosis might look totally dead to you or me, but with the right treatment, it might actually pull through. So the law explicitly states that only a certified arborist can legally declare one of these protected cacti unsalvageable.
So what exactly happens if you decide to ignore all these rules? Well, if you knowingly remove or destroy protected native plants from private or state land without express consent, you are officially committing theft. And the penalties? They scale up aggressively based on the plant's value. If the theft value is under $500, you're looking at a Class 1 misdemeanor. But if you mess with a mature, valuable desert giant and push that value over $1,500, you are suddenly staring down a Class 4 felony. The state absolutely does not mess around when it comes to poachers and vandals.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because so far we've only been looking at the macro level, right? The globally famous 78-foot giants that can literally crush a Jeep. But here's the thing, this exact same Arizona native plant law protects plants on the micro level too. We're talking about plants most people have never even heard of, tiny, fragile, and utterly obscure little things.
Enter the Kearney blue star, or if you prefer the scientific name, Amsonia kearneyana. This is a highly safeguarded, endangered, herbaceous perennial flower. As you can see, it produces these gorgeous, star-shaped white flowers in the spring. It also drops these really unique, quirky seeds that are literally designed to float in water. It's an incredibly specialized plant, and it relies on very precise environmental conditions. Specifically, it needs really strong winter precipitation just to reproduce.
And this species is so isolated that every single known subpopulation is clustered within one tiny geographic dot, the steep, unconsolidated slopes and canyon bottoms of the Babaquivari Mountains down in Pima County, southern Arizona. This extreme geographical isolation is a huge problem. It makes the plant wildly vulnerable. Think about it. If something bad happens in this specific 130-hectare area, it happens to the entire global population of the species.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the contrast in threats. While our giant saguaro cactus needs protection from drunk guys with shotguns or black market landscapers, the Kearney blue star is up against this really complex, tangled web of mostly environmental and human-adjacent threats. We are talking about changes to historical fire regimes causing high-severity fires, extended regional droughts, historical cattle grazing and trampling, and even international border dynamics. To expand on that border point for a second, the Kearney blue star's habitat sits roughly 21 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. Over the last decade or so, there's been a very high volume of illegal border crossings through this specific region. Naturally, that triggers a law enforcement response from Customs and Border Protection. Now, because this terrain is way too rugged for off-road vehicles, everyone is moving on foot. So the constant movement of both cross-border violators and law enforcement agents inadvertently disturbs the incredibly frail steep slope soils where the blue star grows. And that foot traffic leads to severe erosion that damages the plants.
But if we're being honest, the biggest threats are atmospheric. These changing climate events basically act as an invisible, compounding threat over time. Check out this timeline. In 1998, a prolonged regional drought kicks off in the Southwest. For a plant that relies on water to germinate its corky seeds, this aridity actually causes it to abort its flowers and fruits. Then jump to 2009. The elkhorn fire sweeps right through the habitat. And just 2 years after that, in 2011, these highly unusual, severe spring freezes roll in, totally wiping out the plant's early springtime foliage. It's just hit after hit.
And the numerical impact of those compounding events, it is staggering. Following that 2009 human-caused elkhorn fire, researchers eventually went back to survey the largest known naturally occurring subpopulation of the blue star, located in Upper Brown Canyon. What they found was just devastating. An 85% drop in the number of individual plants in that specific area. 85%! So the crucial point really hits home when we look at the raw numbers here. Back in 2002, researchers recorded 300 individuals in that Upper Brown Canyon subpopulation. When a team of biologists finally managed to return in 2012, so this is post-fire and right in the middle of that ongoing drought, they could only find 43 confirmed plants. Whether it was the fire itself, the drought, or maybe some combination of both causing a massive ecosystem shift, the end result was a truly shocking population collapse. Which brings us to perhaps the most terrifying reality for this species, perfectly summarized in this single line from the biological reports. Quote, "No seedlings have been recorded in any subpopulation since 1982. Just take a second and think about that. Because of the changing environment, the lack of winter rains, and shifting ecosystems, this incredibly rare plant has essentially stopped successfully reproducing in the wild. Sure, the mature plants are surviving for now, but they are absolutely not passing the baton to a new generation.
Which brings us to a really critical crossroads, and our final thought for the explainer today. We've seen that Arizona has these robust, felony-level legal frameworks designed specifically to stop people from digging up saguaros or vandalizing native plants. But are those legal tools actually equipped to save a species like the Kearney blue star from the invisible, atmospheric threats of a changing climate, creeping droughts, and unpredictable freezes? Protecting a plant from a guy with a shovel or a shotgun is one thing. Protecting it from the changing sky is an entirely different battle. It is a massive challenge for conservationists moving forward. Thank you so much for diving into this with me, and we'll see you on the next explainer.